What's up, brother? Your mic's muted, brother. We got a new laptop. Give us a minute. You hear me? Yeah, we good now.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's the best it's ever been, to be honest. And there it went. It went back to mute. Because of the video, I'm thinking. There it goes.
All right. I'm not sure if those video played or not. I know the first one did. I'm not sure about the second one.
Yeah, I hear you're the best you've ever been.
Well, so I have a new laptop. I don't know. This is my first time being on it. So I'm still figuring out exactly how to use it and all. So anyway, I'm Brad with College SportsCast. My lighting is not great in this camera yet. I haven't figured that out. But hopefully I won't have any sound and other video problems and that kind of stuff. We are here to do our game day pick'ems. Yep. We missed last night. We normally do these on Thursday night, guys. But I've been kind of busy and I was waiting for this new laptop to come in as well. So we pushed it back a night to do it on a Friday night here. And both of us just got through watching Kentucky play a basketball game. So an exhibition basketball game. So
yeah,
we're kind of coming on a little bit late, but we are here to do our game day pick'ems. I'll start out with we are presented by the Fanboys. We're on Let's Talk Sports, Sideline Sports, the Real Fresh channel on Sundays. And I am also a Stadium Rant writer. You can look me up on Stadium Rant as well and WSBN TV channel 30. So also got some sponsors there listed so you can see those. I'm going to start with our pick'em stats. So Taylor and I both went 8-4 last week. John, you're bringing up the rear. You went 4-8.
Yeah, I know, right? Not everybody can do good.
So I'm 54-40 on the year. John, you're 42-52, and Taylor's 35-36. I pushed this back, so I don't have Taylor's picks tonight. Hopefully, we'll get him back. Maybe if this is running right, we'll get him actually back on the show next week for all this. So hopefully, if things go right, we'll get Taylor back on with us next week, and we'll do this back on Thursday nights like we normally do. All right. With that said, let's get started tonight. John, we're going to start with Oklahoma is a 9.5-point favorite at Kansas this week on tomorrow. I was going to say on Saturday because we normally do these Thursday night, but it's tomorrow. And these are DraftKings spreads, and these were this morning. There's a couple, 2 or 3 that has moved, and we'll talk about that as we go.
I'll be frank with you. I don't like this game for Kansas for one reason. Oklahoma was almost caught off guard last week against UCF. And they're going to be more prepared, I think, this week. Kansas is still without Jalen Daniels. I don't know the whole situation with Jaden Daniels. I mean, this has been a lingering issue all season long. But Kansas is 11th in scoring defense in the Big 12, which is not real good. They're allowing, I think, 27 points a game. And Oklahoma is the fourth highest scoring team in the nation, not just in the Big 12. So I don't like this game, to be honest, for Kansas. I think they're going to air it out. Oklahoma, I think they'll move the ball at will. And I think they're going to run this score up after playing the way they did against UCF last week. I take Oklahoma to win and cover.
All right. I mean, Oklahoma last week struggled. I mean, they had to come from behind at home against UCF. The UCF did have Plumlee back last week playing, but, they struggled in this game last week and pulled out a win, 31-29, but they were favored 17.5. Now they're coming in.
Another thing in that, UCF had an opportunity to tie it on a 2-point conversion? They screwed it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
They screwed the 2-point conversion up.
Yeah, so I mean, it was they literally just did pull this game out last week. Oklahoma did. Now they were coming off of a bye, coming off of the Texas win. So if you remember last week, I did mention I was afraid of maybe a letdown. I think last week was the scare, though. I do expect Dylan Gabriel and company and Stoops and company to kind of get back on track. And Kansas has been having some issues with Daniels and stuff. So I'm going to take Oklahoma in this as well and take the 9.5 points.
Well, and it seems like every time Kansas gets ranked, they end up losing the next game. It's like,
yeah, just about. It's about like what Kentucky does. It's about
they can't figure it out for some reason.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. All right, so the next game we're going to talk about tonight is South Carolina at Texas A&M. And this game was a 16-point spread this morning when I put all this in. I looked just a few minutes ago. It's went up to 17 point spread. That is a large spread in this game, if you ask me. Both of these teams have struggled a little bit. And I know this is at College Station. So, they do get the 12th man. It is a hard place to play. But what do you think about this? I'm going to keep it at -16 since that's what it was this morning.
I don't know. This game's hard. For me, this is hard to predict. A&M's lost 2 in a row, which they played within a touchdown last week against Tennessee. Should have won it, to be honest. There was some plays where they could have made to win. The schedule don't get no easier after this, though, because they go on road trips to Ole Miss and LSU in their next 3 games. So if they're going to make quick work of South Carolina, they need to take advantage of this game, because if you lose this game, there's opportunity where you might not go to a bowl game. And that's, South Carolina's probably playing for pride at this point. I don't think they're going to be going to a bowl game, to be honest.
They won't be going bowling if they don't win this game. I can tell you that.
No, if they don't win this game, it's pretty much over for them. South Carolina is probably, they are the worst team defense in the league. And I think they'll be able to move the ball at will against a really bad South Carolina defense. And South Carolina's going to be without one of their top receivers too, which that's going to make it a big issue, especially against the Texas A&M front four. That's probably one of the better front fours in the country. So, give me A&M, but I don't think they cover this game. I guess I'm going to say South Carolina.
Yeah.
South Carolina to cover because
You think South Carolina covers the spread?
Yeah, I get it. It's a heavy spread, but at the same time, this game's always historically been always a pretty decent game. And it's
unbelievably, Texas A&M has been in the SEC. This is their yearly matchup.
Yeah.
You would not think that South Carolina and Texas A&M would have a yearly matchup.
Mm-mm.
But this is the East and West yearly matchup for them.
Yeah, it is. Like Kentucky and Mississippi State, and there's a few others.
Well, they play each other every year. Once at Texas A&M, then the next year they go back and play at South Carolina. And they've been doing this since 2011, I think.
Well, and
2012.
The thing about it is South Carolina's offense has been struggling lately. Now, they have a few games where they've looked really good and they've looked really bad. But against a really good A&M defense, that's probably one of the best in the country, they're going to have a time moving the football, I think. Especially
now, South Carolina's going to move the football some on offense. It's their defense that's been horrible.
Well, I think they'll move the ball, but I think Texas A&M has enough up front to rely on some plays to stop.
I'm going to go opposite of you. If you're going to take South Carolina in the points, I'm going to take A&M to cover and just do it opposite of you on this one because I think this is a toss-up game. I think with that spread, the spread's kind of wide. I think that it could go either way at the 16-point mark. So since it's a toss-up game for me, I'm just going to take Texas A&M.
You know what's funny is Texas A&M is ranked 60th nationally in total offense, but if you look at some of their games, you wouldn't think that.
Yeah.
With the way they move the ball, son.
Yeah. Our third game we're going to talk about tonight is Clemson is a 9-point favorite at NC State, coming off of a loss at Miami.
I don't even know how they are favored that much at NC State.
Coming off of a loss at Miami, now they are a 9-point favorite at NC State. Now, NC State has not played great this year. They really haven't. They switched their quarterbacks from Brennan Armstrong about 2 weeks ago. This guy has only been in about 2 weeks. So now they're going to the Wolfpack and what do you think about this game with Clemson Tigers headed there now? I don't know.
The Wolfpack have a defense to me.
Have a good defense. They do have a good defense.
Yeah, and I think they'll be able to slow down Clemson a little bit. For NC State, though, their issue is on the offensive side of the ball.
They changed quarterbacks a couple of weeks ago.
They changed quarterbacks, and they didn't really look that good the last 2 weeks. Which Raleigh is a hard place to play at times. It's one of the toughest places to play ever since dating back to when they had Phillip Rivers at NC State. It's always been a difficult place to play and go. So I think Clemson wins this game, but I don't think they cover the spread. Clemson's got a lot of problems right now, all over the place. We're waiting for Clemson to just snap out of it, and it's not happened. The only thing
I'll tell you for me, John, I picked Clemson to beat Florida State. Okay.
Yeah.
I picked Clemson in the What was the other game they lost?
Miami.
Besides last week.
Clemson
Duke.
and Duke.
Duke. I picked Clemson to beat Duke. I picked Clemson last week to cover the spread on Miami, and they haven't done me any favors all year long. So now,
and
the hell
Clemson's defense.
Clemson, I'm taking the 9 points in NC State at home.
I believe that's what I'm going to do because I just don't. I guess I'm just going to go with you because, Clemson, they rank 44th in total offense. You know what the biggest issue for them is their lack of running game. And I get it. They got Will Shipley, but you can't depend on him every single night. Like you can't.
Outside of him, and I said
outside of him, there's not.
I said this to some Clemson fans, some diehards, and they didn't like it too well. But I'll
say this:
they don't have a whole lot of playmakers outside of Shipley.
If NC State can put together a game plan to on the offensive side of the ball with the defense that they got, I could see them pulling an upset here. I could.
I'm just going to say I don't think this is going to
be a shootout. I don't think it's going to be a shootout.
I really think Clemson should win this game, but you never know. And they haven't done me any favors this year picking them, so I'm jumping off the bandwagon.
And I don't think this is going to be a shootout either. So if you're looking for an offensive kind of game, then you might ought to turn the channels.
That was a quote from me. That was a Dabo quote. I'm jumping off the Clemson bandwagon.
Bandwagon. Oh, goodness.
Oh, me. I had to. It's funny. All right, guys. Our next one we're going to go to this is one of the biggest games in the SEC each year. This is Georgia in Jacksonville against Florida. Georgia is a 14.5-point favorite this morning. And, Florida is 5-2. They have only lost one game to Kentucky in the SEC so far.
What did I tell you?
They are in the hunt, and now they get Georgia. So this is their opportunity. It's a 14.5-point spread. What do you think in this game?
I mean, what did I tell you 2 weeks ago on the game day pick 'em? I said if they could beat South Carolina and be 5-2 going into the Georgia game, they had an opportunity to make some noise, and that's basically where they're basically at. Georgia's defense is still legit. I'm going to tell people don't be fooled by Florida's game against South Carolina, and I mean that with all due respect because South Carolina's defense is not good, and Florida just went up and down the field on them. This is a different kind of defense they're going up against. I don't think this is a game that they're going to miss Bowers as much more than they will later on. You know what I mean? Because I think they have enough weapons on both sides of the ball, they could make this game fairly ugly. But if it gets to a 7-point game late in the fourth quarter, and you're trying to figure out how to win this thing, you give Florida every single chance to win this game. And if I'm Georgia, I don't let that happen. So
Georgia's had a hard time jumping out on teams this year, though.
They have.
Besides the Kentucky game.
The Kentucky game, and that was it. So,
yeah.
They're second best in third down defense.
They've been a second-half team.
They're just really good, and they're still a good defensive team. They're not the defensive team of last year's Georgia, but they're still very, very good. So, I'm going to take the Bulldogs in the 14.5. I think they cover this game. I think I cover this game because it's a rivalry game. I don't think it'll be more than that. I think towards the end, Georgia will pretty much just run the clock out and take a win and just go on in this rivalry game because it's always tight early in the
That's
game.
really close to the way I see this game going. I can see like a 31-14 win, just riding it
Yeah,
out late, something
yeah.
like that. I just don't think that this Florida team has.
They don't. They don't
Kentucky
have. They don't have
dominated.
the. They got a
Kentucky
few
dominated
playmakers.
Florida, and Georgia dominated Kentucky. And when
Yeah.
you watch those two games, it's really hard to imagine that this Florida team could really challenge this Georgia team. However, you watch other teams play Georgia this year, whether it be Vandy or Auburn and these other teams are challenging Georgia. So,
Well, if you look at the Vandy game, Vandy scored 20 on them, which the last point was basically a garbage touchdown. But
Kentucky ain't scored 20. Kentucky ain't scored 20 on Georgia in 4 years combined.
It's just basically boils down to Georgia has Stoops' number, basically, if you really want to be honest about it.
I mean, so with all that said, it's so hard for me not to pick Georgia in this game. I'm going to pick Georgia. I really think they cover this and win, like I said, somewhere around 31-14, 34-17, somewhere in that range. I think that's the way this game goes. So
yeah, I do too.
The biggest game of the weekend, if you ask me, is not an SEC game. It's this game right here. We've got Oregon, who is a 6.5-point favorite at Utah.
Yeah,
Kyle Whittingham has been an absolute genius the last 4 or 5 years in this coaching profession. Like, if anything happens to Stoops and he leaves or anything, Kyle Whittingham's the guy to call. That's all I'm saying.
I'm going to say this. The last 4 regular season meetings between Oregon and Utah have ended with the home team win. That's a key stat. Kyle Whittingham is probably one of the most underrated coaches in the country.
I'm telling you,
the Ducks, to me, they look good all year. And, to be honest with you, for them to get to the playoffs, I think they got to win out. One more loss, and it's basically now for the Pac-12. They could probably
both of these teams have to win out. They both.
Yeah, I think they both do, which makes it an even bigger game. Oregon's defense is really, really good. They've held 5 straight opponents under 100 yards rushing.
So is Utah.
And that's what Utah's good at, is running the football.
Utah's good on defense too.
And they also get Kyrie Jackson back, which is going to be a big plus for Oregon. That's going to be a big thing for their defense. So Utah has defied expectations for me this year. We said first game they'd lose because Cam Rising was out. They beat Florida. We said they'd lose UCLA game. They won it on their defense. Every single time
last week USC.
Every single time we put Utah on the outs, they some way come out and just show us why they are who they are. They're only allowing 3 yards per rush. If they can neutralize Oregon's running game, I think Utah wins this game. But can they stop the passing game? That's the question. And can Barnes, can he throw for more than 200 yards against Oregon secondary? That's the big question. That place is going to be humping because it's college game days there. This is going to be one of those down to the wire Pac-12 games. We're in for another Pac-12 Washington, Oregon type game this week. I don't know. Just give me the home team. I think I'm going to take Utah. I think they get it done this weekend.
I don't know. You're picking the same things I was planning on picking. So
I know, man.
I'm going to be honest with you. I have been riding Utah for 2 years. I rode them last year. I picked them to win the Pac-12 last year. They did. Repeated last year. Now I am not going to sit here and say that they are winning just yet. But this is what I did last week. I picked them to cover. I think they were 6 or 6.5 point underdogs last week as well. And I picked them to cover. They not only covered, they won by 2. And I'm going to go with the Utes here. I've been riding them. They've been good to me on my picks for a long time. I've only lost 1 or 2 of them that they,
my biggest key is if Kyrie Jackson suits up. If he doesn't, I think Utah still wins. But if Kyrie Jackson suits up for Oregon, I think he adds another dimension to their secondary and could give Utah fits. And there's a chance Oregon could win this game because Oregon's defense is no slouch.
Listen, I like Oregon. I like Dan Lanning. He's another guy I would call, just to be honest with you. Both of these guys I would. But I'm telling you right now, the Utes have just been – this Utah team has been really good at either winning or covering spreads for quite a while now. And I'm just going to ride them out one more week here and see what happens. I'm going to
ride them out with you. So we're both.
I'm going to go Utah in this one.
Yeah, I am too. I'm going to throw with them.
All right. Our next game we're going to talk about. This is the non-Kentucky fan.
Hey, he said earlier in the week. He said, "Can both of them lose?"
I'll be honest with you. Yeah. I've been asked 2 or 3 times to pick a winner in this game, and both times I've said, "Can both of them lose?"
Yeah, can both of them get beat?
All right, so we got Duke at Louisville, and Louisville this morning was a 4.5 point favorite. However, right before we went on the air, I looked, John, and this spread is up to a 6. I don't know if that means that some news is coming out that Riley's not playing, Riley Leonard.
He's questionable to play.
I'm not sure. If Riley Leonard don't play, that changes this game, if you ask me.
You know, people still don't believe in Duke, apparently, because they've lost 2 out of the last 3 games. But if you remember, it had Notre Dame 1 drive away from a win
on the ropes, and they had FSU on the ropes until Leonard went back out.
Well, until the 4th quarter happened, and they kind of just buckled up.
But Leonard went out with an ankle. When Leonard was in the game, they were ahead 20-17 in the 4th quarter, beginning of the 4th quarter.
I think Duke wins this game. I don't think they're going to run away with it by any means. I think it's going to be a 4th quarter game. Unlike the last 2 games, I think they close this one. And I think,
man, if I knew that Riley Leonard was playing, I would absolutely pick Duke in this game. There would be no question about it.
Well, I would even pick them without him because Louisville has benefited from an easy schedule, I think. You know, and
they have.
You've seen that against Pittsburgh. They didn't, and they've always struggled with Pittsburgh ever since.
Yeah.
Since the Big East, I think.
I guess, okay, I'm going to take Duke as well. I just think that this Duke team and Mike Elko and the defense that he's put together is really, really good. And I really, really like Riley Leonard. Now, I don't know if he's playing or not because he re-injured his ankle and missed the 4th quarter last week as well. So, you know, I don't know if he's going to be playing in this game, and that's going to make a huge difference if he's not.
It is.
So,
it's going to make a huge difference.
Yeah. Louisville is likely to maybe win this game. You know, I think they have a good shot if Leonard doesn't play. All right. The next one is BYU at Texas. Texas is a 20-point favorite. I put this one on here on our list because Texas is playing and starting a redshirt freshman backup quarterback that's never started. Now, He's thrown like 8 passes this year. He's like 4 of 8 or something in mop up duties. Malik Murphy, he's a redshirt freshman. He's a 4-star, high 4-star kid. And he is starting. Arch Manning, who is a true freshman, would be his backup.
I think Arch is redshirting, to be honest.
Yes. He plans on – Arch has not played at all. He's not been in any games yet. But you do get 4 games.
You do. Yeah.
And you can still redshirt. So Sark was asked about it, and Arch Manning would be Malik Murphy's backup in this game, and this would just be one of the 4 games that Arch would come into. But he is planning on redshirting. But I find it interesting because Ewers is not playing. BYU has been up and down, looked pretty good sometimes.
Yeah, that's the biggest issue
they got Slovis as the QB. He's a good QB. They can look good some games. Texas has got a backup QB that's never started a game. Can they cover this 20-point spread at home?
I think they cover it. I think in order to beat Texas, though, they have to play the way they did against Arkansas and Texas Tech. They can't play the way they did against the other 2 teams.
TCU, they got run out.
They just you can't have that situation happen on the road in Austin because it's going to be tough, especially if you get behind. I think you can't get behind big in Austin because Texas has got a pretty good defense, and with the weapons they got offensively, even with Quinn Ewers out, Malik Murphy is not no slouch either. He's a really good quarterback. So for BYU to win this game, I think they got to take advantage of opportunities when they have an opportunity to score. The biggest issue is overcoming the talent disadvantage. Fundamental football stuff. Not making mistakes.
When you got a brand new quarterback coming in, he's nervous. Maybe he throws 3 picks in the first half.
Yeah.
I mean, you just never know what's going to happen.
You just never know about a game. Yeah. So, but I think Texas wins this, but I do think BYU covers the spread.
All right.
So,
I think Texas has tremendous talent all over the field.
Yeah, there's 5 stars everywhere there.
They do. They have tremendous talent. And I put this on here just so we could have a little discussion about this. Murphy is a really high 4-star kid, really talented guy, redshirt freshman. He was there last year. This is his 2nd season. He has been in mop-up duty in like 3 or 4 games this year. He's thrown like 8 passes. So this is not his first time entering a game or nothing like that. It will be his first time starting. I am going to say that Texas covers this spread, and I'm not real confident on that. I'm not real confident on that. But if you're going to go BYU, I'm going to go Texas, so we have something different.
Yeah. So.
All right. Then we're going to get to the game that we want to talk about, and that's Tennessee, 3.5-point favorite at Kentucky. It's been 3.5 all week that I have seen.
Oh, I've seen it's not really moved.
Yeah. Both of these teams are coming off of losses. Kentucky had a bye week last week. Kentucky's coming off of 2 losses in a bye. And Tennessee's coming off a loss at Alabama last week where they basically just folded in the second half. A 20-7 halftime lead, and got zilch, nada.
Here's the biggest thing with Kentucky against Tennessee. You've seen it in the game against Missouri. You've seen it in the game in a couple of the Eastern Kentucky. You outscored your opponents 19-0. And then Kentucky's been outscored 41-0 in the last 4 games. The execution at the end of the first half was bad against Missouri, against Georgia. Kentucky had the ball down 24-7 with 5:15 left in the second quarter. And then they got the ball back to start the second half. If Kentucky goes down there and scores, it's a totally different game. It's a 24-14 game third quarter, which I'm not saying they would have beat Georgia, but they would have had an opportunity to make some noise on the next possessions. But despite all the focus, the whole bye week stuff, the focus on Tennessee's offensive tempo, I wouldn't be shocked if this game's in the 20s. I think Kentucky, to me, matches up better against Tennessee than the last 2 years they've had. But until we see Kentucky put a complete game together, I just can't reverse this in this series. I just can't, And a name to watch in this is James Pierce Jr. He ranked second in the SEC in sacks per game for Tennessee, which Kentucky's offensive line is going to be at full strength since the first season opener. But the pass protection is taking a step back to me. Protection's got to be big this week. You can't lose your blocks.
Their defensive line's pretty darn good. So
and you can't lose blocks against Tennessee. You can't get behind the sticks. The second and 12s, the third and 13s. You get behind the sticks against a team like Tennessee, it's just a recipe for disaster. And you don't know where Tennessee's head's at. After they lost to Alabama, the Alabama game that they was dominating the first half. Then all of a sudden, Alabama just hit a click in the second half, and it just like they was out of the game that instance, that quick. And you just don't know where Tennessee's going to be at. But I think this is going to be a tight game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be played in the 20s. But I do think Tennessee wins this game. Until Kentucky puts an offense together and shows me that they can put it together for 4 quarters, I just can't trust them. And I don't trust Joe Milton either, but I trust him more than I do Devin Leary. And that's a lot.
All right.
So,
well, okay. Anybody who knows Brad, that's me, by the way, knows that I don't like Tennessee. Okay. Anybody that knows me knows I don't like Tennessee. Tennessee has had Kentucky's number all my life, basically.
Yeah,
basically,
yeah.
Since mid-'80s, they've had Kentucky's number. Kentucky's won 3 of the last 14 or 15 games against Tennessee. And that's basically all I've seen them win since the mid-'80s. Here's my thing with this Kentucky team. Until I see people actually step up and make positive, game-changing, game-winning plays instead of making boneheaded mistakes and penalties, I just can't see that this team can win a game with the caliber of a Tennessee.
Well, and I haven't picked them all year. If you remember, during the Florida week, I didn't even pick Kentucky to beat Florida. And Kentucky comes out and Ray Davis goes all worldly, all Superman, and proves me wrong for a day. Then the following week, they just fell flat on their face. The inconsistencies with Kentucky is what gets me. And the fact that Tennessee owns this series, they pretty much owned it since the early 60s, 70s.
Here's the deal, John. So 2 weeks ago now, not last week because it was a bye week, we saw Kentucky come out in the first quarter, Ray Davis is running great. Kentucky comes out, in the first quarter has a 14-0 lead, and then
The
they
fake
just simply go away from running the football.
They do. They
And
go
this
away.
week-
They
and
go
this
away
week-
from what got them there. And
But this week, Stoops was asked about that. And his response was, well, we were trying to establish the passing game and get Larry involved and blah, blah, blah. And that's fine. That's great. I'm not saying that you don't do that. However, after about 3 drives, when you switch it up and they're coming back and making a damn comeback to beat your ass, you don't stick with it. You go back to what got you the 14-0 lead, and you win the football game.
I'm going to tell you something that I've been reading up on Tennessee. They got some really good backs, Jalen Wright and Ari Small. They're very good running backs. And I'm going to tell you something. This is just me talking. Nobody's putting words in my mouth. If Kentucky cannot stop Tennessee, this will be a blowout. Because
as much as I hate to sit here on my own show and tell you guys that I'm going to pick Tennessee, as much as I hate to say it,
now is Kentucky's defense underrated?
I've got to take it. I've got to take Tennessee in this 3.5 points.
I do. That's what I'm going to take.
Until I see Kentucky play a game where they're making winning plays and not losing plays, that's where I'm going to go.
And I am too. And like I said, if Kentucky can't get off their blocks, pressure Milton, and get knock these running backs off their
Florida game, guys. If you're a fan, if you're a friend of mine, whatever, minus the Florida game. The Florida game, Kentucky looks great. Outside of that, they haven't looked great all season long.
Well, here's another quick question, and we'll move on to the next game. But like I said, if you can't get off your blocks, you can't pressure the quarterback, get the running backs out in space and make tackles. This could be a long night.
But they did that. What I'm saying to you is they did that against Florida. They dominated both sides.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying if they do that against Tennessee to me is better than Florida. But let me say this: Florida beat Tennessee because Florida to Tennessee is what we are to Tennessee.
Yes,
it's a mind thing, and it's a mental thing. So
we are capable of winning this game because we demolished this Florida team.
Not that Florida's better than Tennessee. It's just a mind game, the history.
But we demolished Florida, and Florida beat Tennessee, so we can win this game.
It's college football. It's every given Saturday. So, give me Tennessee. I picked them to win, to cover the 3.5. I just can't pick Kentucky until you prove me wrong. I just can't do it. I gotta
talk about it because it's making me sick to my stomach.
I gotta be real. I gotta be realist.
It's making me sick to my stomach. So, all right, y'all just don't know. Y'all have no idea. Ohio State is a 14.5 point favorite at Wisconsin. So, what do you think on this? Does Wisconsin have they have a shot at home to win or to keep it within 14.5 points?
Wisconsin is so sketchy at times. Like certain games, you just don't know what team you're going to get. And Ohio State, to me, just hasn't really looked like Ohio State. You know what I mean? They haven't.
Marvin Harrison Jr. made a statement last week against Penn State.
Well, and lately they pulled away towards the end in some of these games. Which Wisconsin's only lost one home game all year,
best college football player in the country, by the way.
Yeah,
Marvin Harrison.
I agree.
He's not going to win the Heisman, but he's the best player.
Wisconsin's offense is not real good. Ohio State ranks 4th nationally in total defense and 3rd in scoring defense. So this will be Wisconsin's toughest game yet, but it's on the road, and Big Ten road games are hard at times. And this could be another one of those nail biters, or we could have a blowout. You just don't know how Ohio State's going to come out. The last couple of weeks they've had to basically put the game away late in the 3rd and 4th quarters. The Maryland game, the Penn State game. I think it was what was the game before that? There was another one, I think. Was it Notre Dame? No, they won late in the Notre Dame game. But
real late, like the last darn
what
play.
I mean, they've had to put, the game away on ice late in the game, the last 2 games. So I think I'm going to take Ohio State in the 14.5. I just don't.
Man, you're lining up with everything I'm thinking. I think that's what I'm going to do as well.
Wisconsin don't have the offense to hang with Ohio State,
and
which
Ohio State has a pretty good defense too this time.
They do, and their offense ain't really gelled together yet. Ohio State's ain't, but there's that one game they're going to break out and they're going to go ballistic. And it might be this one.
And McCord is finding ways to get Harrison the ball now. He's
a game. To me, he's a game manager, I guess you could say.
So
and he fixes.
If he can continue to do that, Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to take Ohio State some places. Like he's that good.
He is. I agree. So give me Ohio State 14.
I'm going to take Ohio State in this one as well. So, all right. Then we got Colorado is going to UCLA. And this is a big spread, if you ask me. UCLA is 15.5 favorite.
I was kind of wondering about this one.
They're a 15.5 point favorite. It is at UCLA. So, and I know I said a few weeks ago that I was done with Colorado this year after they got beat by Stanford. So if you are a fan of the show and you heard me say that, I apologize that I put them back on here, because that game basically done me in with Colorado. Stanford's horrible how they got beat, give up 46 points.
Well, the biggest issue, Colorado's.
I could put together a team out here across the street and beat Stanford, I think.
Well, to be fair, Colorado's pass defense is one of the worst in the country. Their ground game is non-existent. And I think
I'm exaggerating a little bit, guys. You can chill. I'm exaggerating a little.
Which the Bruins have got probably one of the better run Ds in the country. They're ranked 4th in the country in takeaways. I'm not so sure UCLA covers this game.
Colorado's got a heck of an offense. It's their defense.
It's their defense that stinks the field up. So at this point,
but UCLA has a pretty good defense.
But UCLA's offense ain't.
It's not up to par with Colorado.
No, it's not up to par with Shadir Sanders and Travis Hunter and Donovan Edwards. It's just not. So, did I say Donovan Edwards?
I don't know.
He plays for Michigan, doesn't he?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm thinking about the Edwards kid that plays for Colorado, the running back is who I was thinking about. So, but Colorado's pass defense is not good, but they're going to score, I think, on UCLA, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Colorado's going to have to at least win one of these games down the stretch. I think, do they play Arizona State?
They do, and Arizona.
I think they're going to have to win those two, I think, to get to a bowl game if they want to get to a bowl game, because I don't think they're going to win at the Rose Bowl Saturday. But I don't think UCLA covers either. So
you got Colorado?
Yeah, a 16.5-point spread. But this UCLA offense is very, very.
It is.
Weird.
I agree with you. It is a large spread.
It's kind of large, but I get where they're going with it. You know, the Colorado defense ain't real good, but their offense is going to move the ball. You know, they got a lot of weapons. They got Shadur Sanders.
Well, now UCLA did score 42 points last week.
Well,
I can't remember who they played. Forgot now, but they scored 42 points last week.
Was it Arizona?
It was one of the lower Pac-12 schools. I can't remember who it was now. But
let's see. So, I'm trying to find the schedule because if I don't forget, it was Stanford.
Okay, well there you go, Stanford. It was 42-7.
42-7, yeah.
42-7. So
that's what I'm saying. Like
they give up 7 points to Stanford, and Colorado gave up 46 in one game.
That gives me hope that UCLA might cover this spread then.
So here's the deal. Even though I think this is a large spread, if you're going to say Colorado is going to hold them within the spread, I'm going over on this one. I told you, that Colorado, that one game just killed.
I think that's where a lot of this is going towards, is because of their defense. I think a lot of it because
I really can't.
They can't stop nobody. I don't even think they could stop Glasgow.
So give me UCLA.
I really don't think they can stop Glasgow High School.
They might not be able to. I ain't kidding. I'm not even playing. That's a horrendous score. All right. Second to last one, Mississippi State at Auburn, 6.5 points.
This is a game that's very huge for both teams, I think.
It is. This is a big game in the West because Auburn finishes with Mississippi State, with Arkansas, with they finish. If they can win this game, there is a possibility that they could win 3 in a row before they get to the Alabama game.
Mm-hmm. Well, we seen it last week. You know, Mississippi State, you know, they've grinded out 2 consecutive games.
They beat Arkansas 7-3.
Well, and Mississippi State was playing without Will Rogers, who still remains questionable. For me, it's Auburn. You know, they've struggled in conference play, but all by a touchdown. It's not like they're getting blown out, except maybe the LSU game. Yeah, it's their offense. They can't make plays offensively. Their defense keeps them in the games. It's just their offense has times.
They got a kicker.
Well, they do, and they got a decent running game. I think this game will be won on the ground. Mississippi State likes to run the football. So, and Auburn's rush defense is 89th in the country. And I think this game will come down to if Auburn can make enough stops and can Mississippi State score when they're given the opportunities. And last week, without Will Rogers, let me just tell you right now, if you watched the Arkansas-Mississippi State game last week, I hope you had some dilated eyes because it was a tough watch. It was every single play. It just seemed like punt, 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 punt. It was just
Lord have mercy.
It was awful. It was an awful game. If you was a fan of those teams, I'm sorry. It was not a good football game. And what's so funny about it is Arkansas had plenty of chances to win it.
Well, yeah,
2 or 3 chances to win the game.
Score, yeah. It don't take but one more score and you can win.
In Mississippi State, if I remember, they missed a field goal late in the game that would have put them up a touchdown, and there was just a lot of things going on in this game. But What's the spread you said on this game?
6.5.
It's at Auburn, right?
It's at Jordan-Hare, yeah.
I want to pick Auburn just because it's there, but right now Auburn's they're just not a good football team right now. And I think Mississippi State might be just a little bit better. So give me Mississippi State in the 6.5. I think Mississippi State covers this game, the 6.5.
Okay. Well, I'm going to take Auburn and take the 6.5. I think Auburn's going to cover this. I really do. I'm at home.
Yeah, but
give me
Auburn is just not a good team offensively.
They aren't, but neither is Mississippi State.
No, they're not either.
Especially without Will Rogers.
Well, and the thing too, they're changing a whole different style the way they run.
That's the main key to me because Rogers might not play again. And with that and it being at Jordan-Hare, I'm going to take Auburn in this one.
Well, and the thing too, Mississippi State's going from an air raid to a whole totally different offense.
They are. They're doing more pro-style stuff.
Yeah.
The last game we're going to talk about is Oregon State. Oregon State is still right up there, ranked about 12th or 13th in the country. They are
This is a game to be careful with.
Yeah, they're a 3-point favorite at Arizona. Arizona is a lot better than people give them credit for.
They are.
They have a really, really good quarterback who can move the ball around the field, and Arizona is a lot better team than people give them credit for.
Well, they got a good quarterback too. Noah for 50, 550.
Yeah,
I call him 550.
De Laura, I think is his last name.
Yeah. To me, the Beavers are a real well-balanced team. Their defense is not the best, but they give you a chance to win every single night they play. And, Damian Martinez is one of the best running backs in the country. DJ is doing a good job there at quarterback. But to me, this is a really tricky spot for Oregon State. I'm going to take Arizona to cover this game. The 3 points.
Okay. I mean, this is a game that could be a toss-up at -3.
Well, it's one of those games that you don't want to fall asleep in because you still got an opportunity to go to the Big 12 championship, and you don't want to lose this game to not have that opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. They have one loss. That's it. They're still in the hunt. They're still in the race for the Pac-12 championship game, and this is a game that they have to have. They brought in a guy like DJU to take them there. This is a game that they have to win. I know it's a tough place to go into. Arizona has a really good quarterback, and they demolished Washington State a couple of weeks ago, 44-6. Arizona did. Demolished them. So, this is a dangerous game for for Oregon State. There's a part of me that wants to pick what you did, John, but I'm going to take the opposite. I think this Oregon State team is a good team, and they need this game to stay on track. So I'm going to take Oregon State and take the 3 points in this one. All right, guys. So before we move on to our locks and our upsets, I'm going to talk about our new partner affiliation with Home Field. We here at College SportsCast are now a partnered affiliate for Home Field, which is a premium licensed college vintage apparel company. And they have over 150 teams. I think it's really close to 180 teams, to be honest with you. And they have these cool retro logos and mascots and recognized throwback teams. And they have these vivid colors and these vintage stuff and vintage designs. Check them out. They are a great. We are really excited to have them here at College SportsCast to have college teams and offer such great apparel and stuff here that kind of goes along with all the teams that we talk about. I mean, even FCS in football, man, you can get Furman stuff. You can get, you can go and find your team. It's not just Division Ones. There is, like I said, I think it's close to 180 teams, and they have some really, really cool designs. You can get tees, sweatpants, you can get hoodies, sweatshirts, check the hats, all kinds of different stuff. And they are really, really cool. Check them out. Go to homefieldapparel.com and use our code CSCast. If you are a first-time buyer, you'll get 15% off with our code. All right, guys. So we're going to move on to our upsets of the week. And John, just so you know, for the very first time last week, me and you got our upsets last week. I picked Oklahoma State, and I looked at yours, and I can't remember now who you picked off the top of my head.
Virginia, I believe, over North Carolina.
But you won. But you won your upset. I can tell
it was
you that.
Virginia. It was Virginia over North Carolina, I think.
Well, we both won our upset, so now I am a whopping 1-7. John's 2 in a row is 2-6. Taylor didn't win his, but hey, for the first
upset,
time, we won.
I'm going to go a little different route. I'm going to go a different route this week. I think I'm going to take Colorado State over Air Force, and I tell you why.
Oh my gosh, really?
Because Air Force is missing their quarterback, and it's on the road.
He was supposed to be out last week, and he played.
Well, there's word that he might not play, so I don't know yet. They won't know till tomorrow, but it's in Fort Collins. So, and Colorado State's a tough place to play. And I think I'm just going to go out on a limb and just say Colorado State pulls the upset tomorrow. If I lose, I lose, I guess.
I'm going to take Duke over Louisville. I picked it in here. So doing these, Duke is a 4.5 point underdog at Louisville. I really like Riley Leonard. I like what Elko's done. I mean, don't get me wrong. Brom's a good coach, and he's going to get them turned around. I just think he's in his first year. And if Riley plays, I've got Duke. So I'm going to pick them as my upset pick here.
My lock of the week.
I
think I'm going to go.
Taylor's the only one that got last week.
I'm going to go Florida State, Wake Forest. I know it's on the road, but Wake Forest is just not a good football team right now.
Yeah, I thought about picking that one, to be honest with you.
And FSU's playing at a really high level right now.
I picked FSU on a team that I thought they should cover a couple of weeks ago, and they missed it by a few points. And
I think they I think they take care of business against Wake Forest. So,
you know who I'm going to take? Minnesota plays Michigan State at home in Minnesota. And the Michigan State is coming off of a 49-0 drubbing of Michigan.
Well, and the controversy with
in shambles, and the spread on this is only 7 points.
Well,
in favor of Minnesota.
It didn't make things worse, and it didn't make things worse when they posted a picture of Hitler on the jumbotron.
Yeah,
that's
true too.
Man, they're in
here. So I'm, 7 points. I think Minnesota's covering that. I think that is a steal of a lock, for the week. If you ask me, Now,
Mhm.
I haven't been right a lot. So normally these things go the opposite way. So we'll see. But
Yeah.
that's who I'm going to take this week is Minnesota over
By the
Michigan.
way, basketball kicks off November 6th. Are you ready?
I am super excited about basketball. Speaking of basketball, since we're going to bring that up, when basketball season does start here on College Sportscast Game Day Pick'em, we will start adding a few weekly basketball games to pick as well. If you followed us last year, you know that we did that. Right now, we've been picking around 12 games a week for football to do on our College Sportscast Game Day Pick'em show here. But when basketball season starts, we will probably do somewhere between 6 or 8 football games
Yeah,
and pick up
and
6 or, and
and
pick
when
up
the
6
bowl
or 8 basketball games.
and when the bowl season starts, we do every single bowl game. So
Yes, yeah, we did every bowl game last year in our pick'ems. So we'll do those as well. But for our game day pick'em, just so you guys know, if you've been following along with us, we will switch up and do about 6 or 8 football and 6 or 8 basketball through the week. That way we can do a little bit of both. We are College Sportscast after all. We are covering football and basketball. And we even do a little bit of baseball coverage. And we do some NFL draft because it's the college players being drafted and NBA draft as well. So we cover a little bit of everything. I feel like that
yeah,
has to do with college sports. We'll even talk about some women's college basketball. We talked about some last year too with
yeah.
LSU and Iowa and some of the better teams and stuff like that. So we'll cover some of that.
Caitlin Clark will be back this year. So
Yeah, and Angel Reese. So we have a bunch of that to talk about too this year. And then on softball, we talked a lot about Oklahoma, who has won 3 titles, undefeated, 3 titles in a row. So I mean, Oklahoma softball's out there. So I mean, there's a lot to talk about here on College Sportscast.
yeah,
I just wanted to kind of run through that. We will be switching up a little bit and doing a little basketball soon on the College Game Day Pick'em show here. So since you brought it up, I thought it was a good time to talk about it. Our next show will be Sunday, a couple of days from now, 3 o'clock. That'll be our weekend wrap-up show. We will talk about these games that we did and any other top games, of the day. I think Wyoming and Boise State's going to be a good game. I think UNLV and Fresno State's going to be a good game that we didn't bring up and talk about tonight. So there's a few other Coastal Carolina and Marshall should be a good game on Saturday. Some of the lower tier games, that we didn't talk about tonight. So any of those games we will talk about on Sunday. And I appreciate you guys being on with us. Hopefully we will pick a few of these games right and steer you guys in the right direction. If there's one game that I actually hope I get wrong, I think y'all know what game that is. Just say it.
we know.
I think y'all know what game that is. That's all I'm going to say.
We know.
All right. Peace out. I'll see you guys Sunday. Have a good night.
Have a good one.